All right. So thanks everybody. I mean, it just multiplies the wonder, I think, to hear each person say their own experience of it this week. And so keep it up. We'll do something similar probably next week and keep expanding our repertoire of wonder, the things that begin to um, open us up. And maybe you heard something tonight that sparked your interest um, in wonder in some particular aspect of life. So that's kind of the nature of the talk that I'm going to give, is to just kind of go into an area of life and talk about the wonder of it. Really, it's that simple. So, I thought that what I would do tonight is the body. The body is a source of wonder, and I think part of this is being, you know, able to watch a lot of the Olympics. Since I'm sick and can't do a lot else. I can't really go outside very well. It doesn't feel good. I look at all that beautiful snow and go, oh. But it's truly amazing. And perhaps you have this experience. It's not only amazing what these people can do, mostly young people can do, um, from, twirl in the air on a snowboard or skis or off their skates on ice. I mean, it's truly amazing. Or, the speeds that they attain or the endurance. All of that is, you know, truly moving. Um, but it also, in a certain way, it's like, wow, I just wonder at the human race. And, we're kind of these crazy primates who can think of anything to entertain themselves, you know? And so I watched something like curling, and it's like human beings figured this out, like how to roll stones across ice and create a game out of it, you know? And human beings learned to ski jump, a very unnatural thing to hurl down a hill with boards on your feet and launch yourself into the air, much less do a somersault or something while you're up there, you know? This is us. This is watching us as a species. And maybe we're not the actual one to, go on a half pipe and do all these crazy somersaults and not worry about breaking our neck, which would be my worry, of course, if I were ever to try to do something like that. But to wonder at the playfulness of it. And, the playfulness of it isn't always there when you're watching the Olympics because there's such competitiveness and people want to win. They want to get the gold. Though I was really pleased to see a little special that they did. Maybe it was Sunday night. I can't remember. On the Norwegian way, they called it, the way that Norway has created this amazing powerhouse of alpine um, athletes by creating situations where children can play outside in the snow and do all these things without any competition. I think of how we get people on soccer teams when they're 6 years old and already they're playing to win. They don't do that in Norway. They figure out a way for people to do these things and everybody to win and nobody to compete until they're about 12 years old. And there's a foundation of joy. There's a foundation of naturalness to being outside. So that pleased me. It was pleased me that somebody has figured that out, that that's what ends up producing amazing athletes, and they're winning more medals than, countries that are many times their size in these winter sports. So, that really struck me. What we do, our creativity as a species to entertain ourselves. I mean, do we really need to go to the moon? Well, maybe there's somewhere down the line, there's going to be some economic benefit or not. But the real reason is because we're that kind of species, because we see something and we want to go there. We want to stand there, and maybe not we personally want to, but we're willing to let some other of our species go and have their body on the moon, you know? Isn't that amazing? Um, so there's something that gives me a great deal of joy about the human race, that we're like this, that we are playful and we constantly want to entertain ourselves. It can become absurd, I agree. And there's all sorts of kinds of play that almost seems addictive, in terms of games on the phone and on, PlayStations and so forth. But for the most part, this urge is something powerful. And we like to do it with our bodies. We like to hurl our bodies through the air. I remember raising my son and how he and his friends loved to pummel each other, you know, and just throw their bodies against each other, not in a mean way, just to feel the contact, to wrestle, to like be a body and be alive. And there was a kind of an animal joy in it that's very much like our dog Kiva when she gets together with another dog. They growl at each other, they bark, they jump on each other, they gnaw on each other's ears, they, chase each other around the yard, and they do it purely for fun. They do it because, that's what their species does to entertain itself. They're a bit like primates that way. They want to be entertained. And there's something about a body that's full of joy. Well, on Saturday, I turned 70. Okay. So a rather big birthday. And, my body doesn't feel that good pummeling other bodies. It isn't, I still love to cross country ski. I don't like falling, though I'm willing to. And, it's not quite the way that it used to be. But there's still a body and there's still joy in it. There's still, and there's very subtle joys, which I want to mention, like the wonder of being able to walk. We take it for granted. Having recently had a grandchild and watching her learn to walk, I realized how not for granted it is of what she actually had to do to go from kind of just sitting there to crawling to standing up. She actually danced before she walked. She stood up and then she kind of learned how to do this little thing to the music. And then finally learning how to put one foot in front of another and balance. It is absolutely a miracle that human beings learn how to do it. And they learn how to do it on these little tiny things called feet. They learn to balance on those things. And the amount of brain power it takes for us to do that, it's truly amazing. And we do it every day and we do it without thinking. We walk. So I would suggest this week, walk consciously, at least once, if not several times. Just ordinary walking. And let yourself feel what you're doing. Let yourself feel your feet meeting the earth beneath you. It's truly holy. That it's truly sacred to be able to have your footsteps kind of touching the earth, kissing the earth, moving across the earth. I often think, there may come a day when I can't walk. There may come a day when I'm stuck in a wheelchair. It will be a hard day for me. I do a lot of walking. I do a lot of hiking. I like where my feet can take me, particularly take me away from traffic and noise and people and out into the wilderness. I have so appreciated that in my life. And so the idea that I couldn't do that, I think it would be very hard for me. But meanwhile, I'm going to appreciate it. Meanwhile, I'm going to not take it for granted. This ability to walk up a mountain, this ability to put one foot in front of the other, It's truly amazing. So let it become amazing. If you're willing to take this on as a kind of practice this time around, let let your let your feet work. And in the body's a whole lot of things. There's eating. So it's also amazing the kind of effort human beings put into eating, all the different flavors, all the rituals that go around it. Having recently been in a different culture and seeing how it's done differently, just emphasizes that point to me, how we all in different ways in different cultures have these rituals around food, and we want it to taste good, and we have different ideas of what tastes good tastes like, and different ideas of how to make it. We had these Ayurvedic cooking lessons as a part of it, and so we got to taste this amazing food that was being cooked right in front of our eyes, and we were taught to make it. um, I tried to make poha this morning. It wasn't quite like the way they did it, I have to say. I think I made a mistake by buying, there were two types of poha. There's one that was thick and one that was thin. I bought the thin one, and I think the thin one turns into something more like rice gruel, and the thick one would have been a better bet for getting the kind of consistency I was used to. But anyway, the wonder is that what we have around food and the kinds of tastes that are available to us, and the wonder about the food system. There's a lot wrong with our food system. There's a lot of inequity in our food system. There's a lot of waste in our food system. But nonetheless, it's truly amazing what has to happen to get the food to our plate. It's truly amazing what farmers have to do to grow the food, and the conditions that they have to maintain, and the knowledge they have to bring that, and the work that it all goes into. I know I grew up on a farm. It's not abstract to me what happens on a farm and what that means. And so the sheer bounty of a grocery store is amazing to me. Um, I don't always like that everything's sealed in plastic sometimes. I don't always like, um, certain aspects of it, but the sheer abundance is amazing. I've been in countries where there isn't that abundance. I've been in countries where the shelves are pretty thin and not at all diverse, and people, live on a lot less. Um, I've also lived in places where people live off the food that they grow, and more or less that's the source of what they eat, which is also amazing and quite beautiful. I aspire to do that to some degree myself in my own garden. Um, but yeah, next time you sit down to eat, take a look at your food. Think, and this is Mickey's point, sometimes a thoughtful reflection is really helpful. Think about what it took to get that food to you. Those green beans. Do you know where they grew? Do you know what it took to get them to you in the middle of the winter? As those salad greens, do you know where they came from? Do you know what it took to get them to you in the winter? Um, all of those things can be the source of stopping and appreciating what's right there and there every day, every day. We get our eggs, not right now in the wintertime, but we get our eggs normally from a neighbor. And it's really touching how she loves her chickens. And we've had chickens before. We did in Shutesbury, and they're just characters. And but to listen to her talk about her chickens and their names and their personalities, and and the joy she gets from their eggs, it's priceless. It's truly priceless. And she charges $5 for a dozen eggs. You can't get them in the store for $5. And yet here it is, right in my neighborhood. And then eggs are kind of wondrous, aren't they? What comes out of a chicken, um, and the food that they eat, and it's turned into that egg. It's like, who? Yeah, it's like, wow. I don't even know what I could possibly say that would be equal to the sheer wonder of food and where it comes from and what it's like for plants to grow and to turn, the waste of your former food back into food for you. Um, anyway, it's all truly amazing. And so that's another area of the body, just not to miss the whole thing around food. And even the waste products. I mean, there's an element of wonder there, even though we're kind of like biologically programmed as animals to have a certain revulsion about it. But nonetheless, yogically speaking, I think it's worthwhile to contemplate that all that wonderful food you put in your mouth, all those tastes you labored to make that were so wonderful, all that beautiful conversation you maybe had with someone else you live with or with friends you've had over, all that gets mushed together and comes out the other end, you know? And it better, or you're in deep trouble. you know, it's and it's true of every animal on this planet. Something similar like this has to happen. The food has to go in, it's got to get digested, it's got to come out. And that's a source of wonder to me. So, and then, you know, the organs of the body, we need every one of them. And they each do these amazing things. Um, you think of the muscle of the heart and what it does over the course of a lifetime, how much blood it pumps. I don't have any statistics about that. It might be trillions of gallons of blood for all I know. What one muscle pumps in the course of a lifetime, or how many breaths the lung breathes, and how that air goes through all those little sacs into the blood. Anyway, I think you get it. The body is an amazing thing. So walk on this earth consciously this week. Have a little fun with your body, whatever that looks like, no matter your age. Have a little bodily fun. And then food. Take in your food. See what you're eating. Think about where it comes from. Think about everything that's involved. And I guarantee all those things will lead you to wonder. Okay, we're at the end of our time, and I'll sign off for now. You have your assignments.